Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. On today's video, I want to talk about Minoxidil. And this basically will be a video about my 10 years review of Minoxidil application that I have used for last 10 years. And today basically is the day when I first started with Minoxidil back in 2013. And in this video, basically I want to share my story, my experiences with Minoxidil, my results, and what I'm going to do with Minoxidil moving forward, and also my oral treatment visit. And for you guys who are on this channel for the first time, my name is Alex and I'm a certificated trichologist, but I am also previously a hair loss sufferer. Like I was suffering hair loss for many years before I was able to regrow back my own hair, and I'm now 38 years old, and as you can see, I still have my hair. So in this video, I want to focus on Minoxidil, and Minoxidil is a growth stimulant that can grow back hair, right? So it is a very potent way to grow back hair. And the Minoxidil that I have used is basically a standard formulation, right? It is the liquid or foam, and it is always been 5% Minoxidil that I have used on my scalp. Because again, like if it's stronger than 5% Minoxidil, it is higher likely to cause side effects, right? And since Minoxidil is something that one will have to use for a while, it is important that one is aware of it, that there is possible side effects, and the 5% usually is quite well tolerated. And it works very well, especially in conjunction with microneedling. And when I first started with Minoxidil, what happened is that I had a hair loss for many years, up until the point when I started with Minoxidil. But I was kind of able to preserve it with addressing DHT angle with finasteride. So basically what happened is that I started with finasteride first. I started with finasteride back in 2008. And I tried it, Minoxidil, multiple times from 2008 to 2013. But basically what happened each time is that my scalp got out of balance, and it got irritated, it got inflamed, and it also had more shedding. So my scalp was just not ready for Minoxidil application until 2013. And when my scalp was finally ready for Minoxidil, I was able to start with it, and it didn't cause any issues anymore. Like there was no redness anymore, there was no itchiness from Minoxidil, everything was just perfect. And when I started with Minoxidil, what happened is that regarding shedding, there was a bit shedding to begin with, around 6 to 8 weeks into it. But the shedding was short-lived, right? So basically, the reason my shed was not quite severe during that time is that up until 2013, I was dealing with different problems on my scalp, on trigger foods, and basically other issues that was causing that I had a lot of problems going on with the shedding, with hair situation, with the scalp health. And I have been able to solve those problems in 2013. So basically, the hair finally was quite strong, right? So when the hair are strong and when DHT is addressed, then starting with Minoxidil shouldn't cause that severe shedding. So there was, for example, for me, some shedding for around 6 to 8 weeks when I started with Minoxidil, but it was not severe, right? So it was not something that did concern me that much. So. And basically what happened is that when I started with Minoxidil, I was able to get very good results after around 8-9 months mark. Right? So basically up until 8 months mark, what happened is that I just noticed that my hair was more easily to style. I didn't use any more like 30 minutes every day in the bathroom to style my hair. I was finally able to style my hair around 5 to 10 minutes, and it looked quite okay. So basically that kind of ensured me that Minoxidil was having some kind of effect on my follicles, right? And that's basically ensured me to continue using it because I didn't see any results for quite some time. And the reason for it is that my hair loss was very advanced, right? So basically I had to reactivate the hair follicles. I had to basically make through the reduced hair stage, miniaturized stage. So basically there was a lot of activity, a lot of things that had to be done before I actually could see some results. And that's why it did take so long time for me to actually notice effect from Minoxidil. But small progress like easier to style the hair, also a better structure of the hair, gave me insurance that I was doing something correctly at that time. And basically what happened is that my hair just kept improving. And here is basically my 1 year's results, here is 2 years results. And basically what happened afterwards over the years is that there was some ups and downs because I did make mistakes in my treatment. I did do things that could aggravate the problem regarding hair loss or affect the hair follicles. Because when it comes to the hair follicles, if there are any unbalance in the body, it will affect the shedding, right? So basically if there are something that is happening in the body that shouldn't be happening, it will affect the follicle health and basically cause shedding. Right, so those things is something that can happen if one is not completely optimized all the time. right? So basically things even like stress, for example, some trigger foods, for example, diet, it can affect the hair and cause shedding, right? And basically by doing so, it will affect the minoxidil effectiveness and cause that hair will shed out, and minoxidil basically won't be as effective as it should be. And during those years, of course, it did happen for me as well. But if I look from 2013 to today, you can see basically that each year I still was able to have a decent kind of hair all those years, right? Especially if you look back, for example, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I did start to make my first videos, you can see that my hair back then also was kind of the same as it is today. Important to understand with minoxidil is that it only works if there are no underlying problems. Right, so basically if there are underlying problems or even things like DHT, let's say for example if one is very sensitive to DHT but is not addressing DHT angle, then basically minoxidil will become less effective, right, or ineffective, or it won't work at all. Because if there are stronger factors that can affect minoxidil effectiveness, they will do that, and minoxidil will basically be kind of pointless until you have solved those problems. So it can be, for example, DHT sensitivity, it can be your scalp health. Like I mentioned in the beginning, that I had my inflammatory problems on the scalp, I had some dermatitis on my scalp, I had a high fungal activity on the scalp, and I had to solve those underlying problems to make minoxidil work. Right? This is very important for me. And plus, when I did apply minoxidil, I didn't see results from minoxidil application up until the point when I actually added microneedling. So for me, adding microneedling was a very kind of effective way to make minoxidil work for me. To wonder what formulation I have been using, I have been using a standard formulation, right? I basically have been using liquid or foam in 5% strength, and from the perspective of side effects, it's usually quite okay with 5% formulation. Like if one goes past 5%, past 7%, then there is a higher chance of side effects from minoxidil. And I have spoken about the side effects in previous videos for you if you want to know more about it. But basically for me, there hasn't been any side effects internally. I have had some issues on my scalp itself, for example, dryness of the skin, flakes on the skin, because the thing with minoxidil is that it will leave flakes on the scalp, so you have to remove them. Because if you don't remove the flakes, what will happen is that it will affect absorption of minoxidil, and when you keep applying minoxidil, it will make it less effective. So flakes has to be removed. And back when I first started with minoxidil, I didn't know that. So I basically kind of keep flakes, and it just kept building up, and it kept kind of making my scalp more and more itchy, for example. And there was also increased shedding from minoxidil application because I hadn't removed those flakes. So when I finally understood the importance of brushing the scalp, for example, I was able to solve that problems that I had with kind of minoxidil sides. So. But besides those problems, there hasn't been any issues with minoxidil application on my scalp. Shedding cycles with minoxidil, like I haven't had that many shedding cycles from it over the 10 years. And when I have had shedding cycles or shedding from when I was using minoxidil over the years, is that it happened because I did something wrong in my treatment. It didn't happen because of minoxidil shed or minoxidil cycle, but because I did some things wrong in my treatment. And again, it was basically something with either I was not blocking DHT at some point, like I have spoken about previous videos, or I was doing something wrong regarding, for example, to having a lot of stress or having an unhealthy lifestyle, like smoking, for example. Like those things also can affect minoxidil. And over the years, basically, like when it comes to minoxidil, like there can be some shed, yes, over time, because we have different phases of hair growth. Like we have adhesion phase, we have telogen, or catagen telogen phase, and when the hair are in the adhesion phase, in the growth phase, they are there for an average around 4 years. Right? So basically in some cases it can be longer, and in some cases it can be shorter, but on average is 4 years. And when you start with minoxidil, basically what happens is that when you start with it, most likely, from my experience, there can be increased shedding after around 4 or 5 years mark, at least for me. But that is short-term shed, right? So basically, some of the follicles that has been regenerated back in 2013, they did have some shedding in 2017, but it was short-term shed that I was able to recover from, and again, everything is fine. And basically, as long as one doesn't do mistakes in treatment, those shed cycles is manageable, and they basically one just needs to stick it out, and they usually don't last longer than 2 to 4 weeks. On the question about if minoxidil can stop working, my answer to it is quite unlikely, right? Because again, I have been using it for 10 years now, and it is still working for me. As you can see, my hair is still there. It is dense, looks nice for my age, taking in consideration that I'm at 38 years old and I will be 39 later this year. So I don't see a reason why it would stop working for me. And when it comes to, for example, minoxidil itself, like there is a lot of questions or different opinions about if one can stop with minoxidil, what will happen with the hair when one stops with it. Like again, what is important to understand with minoxidil is that the hair grows in different phases. Right? So basically, if you stop with minoxidil in the wrong phase, then they are likely to fall out again. But if you are able to turn your hair into terminal hair, then the hair become much more robust, and then if you tap down minoxidil over time, then you are able to either cycle it or stop it completely, but it has to be done in a context of time, right? So you cannot do it like just one day decide to stop with minoxidil. You have to do it over time by reducing either applications or amount of application, amount you're applying on the scalp. So those kind of are things that are important regarding it. And when it comes to minoxidil application itself, some of you always are wondering how often do I apply minoxidil, and I apply it once a day. I apply it in the evening, a couple hours before I go to sleep, and I have been doing once a day application for last 10 years. Like I haven't tried twice a day application because I don't find it convenient. Right? And basically, if you do minoxidil application in conjunction with microneedling, then it increases effectiveness of minoxidil, and by doing so, basically you are able to just apply it once a day. Right? And amount I am applying, like when I first started applying minoxidil back in 2013, I was applying around 1.8 to 2 ml every day. Right? So I was applying quite a lot, but now I'm applying less than 1 ml. Like I would say around, on average, around 0.8 to 1 ml that I'm applying my scalp, because again, my scalp or my hair has thickened up, so there is no need to apply that much anymore. Right? So those are things I want to share with you guys regarding today's video. On moving forward, I'm going to continue with treatment. I'm going to continue with minoxidil because I don't see any point to kind of stop using it since it is working well for me and I have my hair back. I will work on reducing those amount I'm applying. That will be one thing moving forward that I will work on to reduce, because again, I want to have as little medication on my scalp as possible, so I will work on reducing amount of it, but I will still stick to the treatment and continue with it. And for you guys who are wondering about if I could give you help regarding your hair situation, you can schedule a call below this video. There is a link for it, and I have a program that is called Rapid Regrowth Program, where I address basically hair loss from all the different angles that can cause and make treatment ineffective. So if you are suffering is hair loss, suffering is shedding, and you're not able to get control of it yourself, then schedule a call, let's talk and see how my Rapid Regrowth Program can help you with your hair situation.